Hello everyone, it's Meg. Welcome to a new video. Today I thought I'd do the mid-year recap tag, and I don't think I've done this for quite a while, and I just think it's so fun. I do really enjoy doing tag videos. I feel like they're more of like an OG, like older booktube kind of thing. However, I am totally still down to do them. So that's what we're doing today. I think it's just like, it's a good year time to like check in, see where our reading's up to, kind of reflect on the reading that we've done so far, what we're looking forward to reading in the second half of the year. I think it's just going to be super fun. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. So I thought I'd just do a little stats so far. So far this year, before I get into the questions, I think I've read about 50 books so far, which is kind of insane. Not gonna lie. Kind of insane that I've read that amount. Most of them are manga, I must admit, which I feel like I'm cheating to a certain extent, but I know full well if somebody else thought that about themselves, that that's not cheating. So it's not cheating. If you are reading graphic novels or manga or listen to audiobooks, it is not cheating. It's still reading, it's still a book. Obviously it's a type of like fiction, a type of reading, a type of book that I really enjoy. So it is probably the most I've read so far, like halfway through a year, which is also, like I said, insane. But anyway, let's get on to the main questions. So question number one is the best book you've read so far this year. This is a really hard question, to be honest with you. I've read some good books, but also there's not many that like full on stand out to me at the same time. I've definitely had some like 5-star reads, don't get me wrong, but then again, when I choose this, I couldn't choose just one, so I think I'm going to choose a couple so far, so I've probably got about 3-ish. So the first one is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This was my first book I read this year, I believe, and I devoured this. I really enjoyed it. I'm not really a fantasy person, as you could probably tell on this channel, but I have read Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I read that series as it was coming out, and it's taken me a while to get around to the series. I didn't know whether I'd like it, but I really enjoyed it. I have read the sequel as well, and I am planning on reading the third book over the summer before the novella comes out. Some other mentions I would just like to put in is Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. I really enjoyed the first book of this and I absolutely devoured this. I have like a really wonderful memory of reading this when on the train when I went down to London at the beginning of the year, and it was a very quiet train and I was just listening to my little Ghibli music on this train, reading this book, like absolutely lost in the world. That's a very nice memory that I have reading this book. I also have to shout out the Skip and Loafer series because I read the first book last year, but I've read the rest of the series so far this year and I devoured it. This is like a new obsession. I absolutely adore this series. I just love everything about it, from the art style to the characters to the storyline. I love it very much. So I guess these are kind of my favourite books of the year so far. Question number two is the best sequel you've read so far this year. I feel like I'm gonna just repeat myself right now. I'd say Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. I loved the first book, like I said previously. I did really enjoy this. I feel like I probably enjoyed the first book ever so slightly more. This does deal with slightly different, slightly heavier topics, but I honestly still devoured this, and I am going to mention Skip and Loafer again because, like I said, I enjoyed this so much, and I read all of these consecutively after each other, and yeah, I absolutely devoured it. Yeah, it brings me a lot of joy, this series, so I had to put it as one of the books for this question as well. Question number three is a new release you haven't read yet but want to, and I'm gonna talk about a book that I don't own. I would really like to own it. It did come out this year, and I believe it's called Almost Life. I can't remember the name of the author, but this is a historical fiction, and I know it's about these two women, and it's about a sapphic romance between them, and it lasts over a couple of decades. I've heard really good things about this book. I really want to read it. I don't really want to buy the hardback though. I don't mind reading hardbacks, I just generally prefer paperbacks because obviously I can like carry them around a lot more easily, but I do want to read that. Maybe I'll just buy it at some point, who knows. And then in terms of new releases that I physically own but haven't read yet, I have I Don't Think I'm Straight by Isabella Daughter, which is, I'm assuming, a collection of poems or sort of like a autobiographical collection of poems about the author coming to terms with her sexuality, and it's June when I'm currently filming this. I feel like this video is going to end up going out in July, but obviously I wanted to read it for Pride Month. I don't know if I'm going to get down to that because it's nearly the end of June, which is absolutely wild to me, but I think I definitely want to try and read this over the summer. I think that's definitely something that I want to do, and then I'm ready for all of the like new releases that are coming out in the second half of the year. Question number 4 is a most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and there are quite a few that I'm really excited for. I don't want to list too many though because I want to do a anticipated releases video for the second half of the year, so this is going to be really hard to pick. Shall I pick one or two? I'll pick one that I mentioned in my, for like the first half of the year, a video that I've already made. So I would say Bridget and Gabe Are Not Okay by Lex Croucher. This is a sequel to Gwen and Art Are Not in Love. And unfortunately this has been set back to September instead of August, which is a bit of a shame, but obviously not the end of the world. I love Gwen and Art. It's one of my favourite books of the year whenever it came out, maybe in about like 2023 I think, and I'm very excited that there's going to be a sequel. It's one of my favourite Lex books, so I'm really excited for that. And in terms of other books that I haven't talked about yet, I would say Evie and Her Nightmares by Francesca Zappia. This is a sequel to Eliza and Her Monsters, which I think is again like a OG like booktube classic. It's also one of my favourite books of all time. It means a lot to me as well, personally, and I knew that there was a sequel coming out, and then for some reason I forgot until I saw the cover on Francesca Zappia's Instagram and I was like, oh my god. So it comes out in September, I believe. I'm so freaking excited, also a little scared because I don't know what this is going to be like. I just hope it's as good as Eliza and Her Monsters. This is set in the same universe as Eliza and Her Monsters, but obviously with a different character, and she said that this kind of deals more with depression, whereas Eliza and Her Monsters deals more with anxiety, and there's other aspects to it. But yeah, I'm very excited for this. I hope so hard that this is going to be a really good read and live up to my expectations, but we will see. I will definitely have to do a vlog reading this book when it comes out. Question number 5 is the biggest disappointment this year, and I have maybe like one or two, but I think I'm going to go with The Elsewhere Express by Samantha Soto Yambao. This definitely wasn't a bad book. I absolutely adored Watermoon, which was the first book I read by this author, which I read last year. Absolutely stunning, one of my favourite books of last year. So naturally I was really excited for this book. However, I just couldn't grasp the concept of this book. This book is basically set on a magical train that is made up of people's memories, dreams, thoughts, so on and so forth. And just the way that it's constructed, like obviously this is fantasy, so it can absolutely defy your imagination and, you know, the odds of like the normal world. But for some reason I just couldn't wrap my head around the idea of this magical train and how it was constructed by all of these different things, like thoughts and dreams and whatnot. It just didn't make sense to me, like I said, even though it's a fantasy, and they're allowed to break the rules in what is and what, you know, isn't possible. But yeah, that just didn't click with me as much, and this just general storyline didn't click with me as much either. Like I still enjoyed it, the writing was still stunning, but compared to Watermoon, this was definitely a disappointment, unfortunately, which I'm really sad about. However, I will definitely be reading and continue to look out for this author's like up and coming releases, because I do really enjoy her writing, and I definitely want to, keep giving her books another chance. Question number 6 is the biggest surprise, and I'm going to go for The Lantern of Lost Memories by Sanaka Hiragi. This was one of my most recent reads actually, and it's a translated fiction which is translated from Japanese. It's also translated by Jessie Kirkwood. I have read a Japanese translated fiction before and I enjoyed it. It wasn't like, I didn't absolutely love it, but it was fine. I enjoyed it. So I didn't know what to think when I went into this. However, once the story really got going, I was fully invested. This book is basically about this photo studio that is in between the afterlife and the living. So people who die go to this photo studio to relive a memory for a day before they go into the afterlife. And this book is basically split into 3 parts about 3 different characters who pass through this photo studio, and we get to relive a day with them. And this was absolutely stunning. I must admit, I really enjoyed this. I feel like the translation was really good. It was just very engaging. I was really rooting for the characters throughout this book. It is quite gentle, but obviously very meaningful. It was just a really good read. I really enjoyed it. I was so surprised how much I did like this, and I'm really glad I did enjoy it so much. Question number 7 is a favourite new author, so that can be a debut author or an author that is new to you. I think I'm going to choose Ishi Robinson. This is a debut and it is also a new to me author. I read this recently. I really enjoyed it. I think her writing is very engaging. It's very easy to read. I really enjoyed the storytelling as well. This is a book that's set in Jamaica following our main character Pumpkin, and it's basically like a coming of age story dealing with things like family dynamics, figuring out what you want to do with your life, and like your dreams and all that sort of thing, friendship. Yeah, I think it was just it was very hopeful. It's a very hopeful book, and like I said, I enjoyed the writing. I will definitely be looking out for this author in the future and seeing what else she comes up with, because I really enjoyed it. The next question is a favourite new character, and I'm going to go for Phoebe from The Wedding People by Alison Espach. This was again a first read of the year, and I think this book definitely lives up to the hype, in my personal opinion. Phoebe is such a great character. There is such a big change compared to where she is at the beginning of the novel to where she is at the end. And I love seeing the interactions that she has between all of the people at the wedding and the relationships that she builds. I feel like even though she is obviously not in a great place at the beginning of the book as well, she is very wise, and she gets to a point where she feels like that bit of hope, that feeling of like, wow, like I'm alive in this world, and how grateful she is for that. I feel like I'm not doing like the best job at explaining, but I think if you have read this book, you will know that Phoebe is a great character. I think generally it is a great cast of characters in this book. I love the dynamics between them all, and obviously the dynamics that Phoebe has between all of these characters that she has only known for like a week during this wedding. And how her life changes so much throughout that week. Next question is a book that made you cry, and I do not cry at books. So this does not apply to me. I've maybe had a few in the past that maybe made me like tear up a little bit, but I genuinely do not cry at books. It would make a lot for me to cry at a book, and I probably avoid books that make me cry, to be quite honest. So this doesn't apply to me, this question. A book that made you happy. I know I feel like a broken record, but I am going to mention Skip and Loafer, because literally the amount of joy that this series has brought me is absolutely insane. I feel like how could it not bring anybody joy? I think Mitsuki, our main character, is obviously, she's very optimistic, very hopeful, very determined, and you have to admire her for that. Like even when she fails and falls flat on her face, she sees it as a learning experience. She isn't embarrassed by it. And she knows what she wants, and she's not afraid to go after it. Obviously I love like the relationships between everybody, between her and Sasuke, and I love the friendships. That's definitely one of my favourite things about this book, is the friendship group in here. It's absolutely stunning. And yeah, there's just so much to like about this, and it definitely brought me so much joy when I was reading it. Second to last question is the most beautiful book you've bought this year or have received, and I think that definitely has to go for these books here. These are my Lumicrate exclusive editions of Jane Austen's books, so I'm not going to get them all down. I do have a book haul video where I go through detail what all these looks like, so I will leave that in the description if you want to go and check that out and have like a more detailed look of these books. But let me just get the top one off the shelf to show you. So this is Northanger Abbey, and I think these are so beautiful. So they've each got their own hardcover designs with like the beautiful foiling, and then they also have these floral stenciled edges which are stunning, and then the end papers as well are like foiled as well, and they are just absolutely stunning. They're definitely a good addition to my shelves. I'm so happy to finally have a matching collection of Jane Austen's books because your girl has never had that before, and it's something I've always wanted, so I'm very happy about that. And the final question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I mean, I have options like right here. I think definitely I want to read Blue Spring Ride. This is definitely one of the next reads that I'm looking forward to reading. I do want to get the rest of this series, maybe buy it for my birthday because I love the anime so much, so this is definitely like top on like my manga list. Interesting Facts About Space as well by Emily Austen. I think this is definitely going to be maybe my next read that I pick up. This is the last book I got from my advent calendar. I've never heard of this author before. I think I don't know much about it. I know that I think the main character is on the spectrum and is queer, and that sounds great, so I'm definitely down for picking this up. So I think that is everything for this video. I could genuinely go through the whole TBR for that last question, but we're not going to go there because that would take quite a while. I feel like that was really fun. I feel like I struggled to answer some of these questions this year, which is kind of interesting really. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what your favourite book is so far that you have read in 2026. I would really like to know. I always love to know what people's favourite reads are kind of coming up to this time of year. And if you got to this point in the video, comment the sun emoji because it's very sunny when I'm filming this at the moment. It's actually quite hot. So, and also, like I said, mid-year free cat tag, it's like summer vibes. We are like halfway through the year now, which is just absolutely wild. However, I am so excited for all of the new releases that are coming out this year, and I will be doing a anticipated releases video for the second half of this year, so I think that will be up after this vlog, this video, to my knowledge, so you can check that out at some point in the near future. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you have not already. I will leave the links to my social media along my Goodreads and Fable in the description down below for you guys if you would like to see more bookish content that you will not find on this channel. But thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you again very soon. Bye guys!